Go ahead. Hi, everybody. Go ahead, Seth. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, everybody.
She was asking a question. We went live right in the middle of it. You would let it go. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today. And this is Sev Tuck, and she is here today to talk about her experiences. And she has this whole list of things I'm going to read off about her that it keeps going on and on and on and on. Actually, I have put it up there. Okay, so Sev, tell everybody about what you do and how you do it. And I'm going to pull how I met you or saw you first was when you were on Gaia with George Norrie. That's where I saw you the first time. And I've seen several other interviews that you've done about your experiences. And so let me pull this up here. I had everything here, and I don't know why it disappeared for me. But anyway, okay, here we go. Okay, she is an experiencer advocate. She helps ET contactees process and benefit from their encounters. She has been seen on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. The proof is out there. Beyond Belief with George Norrie on Gaia. ABC News, Impact X, Nightline, and on a Canadian TV documentary, Encounters UFO. Seth is a spiritual counselor, which we're going to get into that. Conducting soul purpose sessions with clients around the world. And her information I have in my description box. If you wanted to contact her, her YouTube channel, she has a YouTube channel that's in the description box. Her web site's in there. So you can look in there to see all the information about her. There's so much more to talk about with her. And her experience is very physical, which is a lot of times very unusual for people. But let me see. Go ahead and tell just a little bit about yourself, and then I'm going to say hello to some people that have joined us.
Oh, wonderful. Well, hello to everybody who's joined us. And Dr. Gail, it's a pleasure to be here with you and your listeners and your viewers. I'm really happy to be here. I'm an experiencer, like you said. And an experiencer advocate. And I've been in the UFO world only 7 or 8 years. I've been doing soul purpose sessions for the past 15 years.
I really want to know about what those soul purpose sessions are and what they look like.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. I have clients around the world, and these are sessions that are multidimensional, interdimensional. The information that comes through is multidimensional information. I do it in person and via Zoom. And the information comes through from my client, from their auric field, from their energy, from their guides, from my guides. And I just pick up information that floats around us because we live in a matrix of information. And all of this information is free to everybody. We all have access to it. It just takes practice to hear, feel, listen, integrate it. And so what comes through for my client is why they're here, their purpose, and how they can manifest it, what some of their best career paths are and how they can manifest them. Past life comes up that explains something that's going on now. Also, a mental belief pattern, we all have them, that may just keep my client from progress or success. And we talk about that belief pattern, how to either eliminate it or just work around it. And I help my clients actually restructure their auric field, because the energy that you radiate determines your reality. And so that it's as if your auric field or your biomatrix is your architectural blueprint for your life. And you can always tweak it. You can always realign it. You can always recreate it. And so I help my clients understand what it is that they want, how they can actualize their purpose so they feel fulfilled, and how to restructure their auric field through their mind so that their reality reflects what it is that they want out of their life.
Oh gosh, that sounds great. Oh my gosh,
Thank
that
you.
sounds like everybody needs that. But let me say hello to a few people here, Seb, and then we're going to go into your experience and your history of everything. And in all actuality, I've only been in experiencing or expressing my experiences for 5 years, so we're
Oh, you.
both very new at this compared to a lot of people.
Yes.
Hi, Suzanne. Hey, White Dragon. Thanks, White Dragon, for putting that up there. Hello and welcome. Please put all questions in all caps, like and subscribe, and you can get a lollipop, a cherry lollipop.
Wow, look at everybody. Hi, everybody. This is wonderful.
Yes. Hey,
Oh,
Unicity, thanks for being here today. This is going to be a very interesting show. She has a lot to share. Hey, Dream Journey One. Hey, Donna Marie. Thanks for being here. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Emily too. Hey, Damaris. Thank you for being here. Hey, Patricia. Thanks, Jane, for being here. Everybody, thanks for being here today. Let's see who else is here. Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Mary. Hey, CJ. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And as everybody comes in, we're going to go ahead and we have a lot to cover. In fact, I probably could do 100 shows on Sev on all her experiences and things. Hey, Nancy Jean, thanks for being here today. So go ahead and I'm just going to give you the platform here and talk about your experience. So you're so used to doing this. And as I said, I've seen you on George Norrie, and I've seen you on several other platforms, several other shows that you've been on, Gaia, and one of the best interviewers out there. I can't even think of her name. I listened to that interview, which brought me. Oh yes, I forgot. That's where it came in. Your name. I, everybody, her name, Seth Talk. I thought she took the name from, what was it, Star Trek, Star Wars? Was
Star Wars.
Star Wars. I thought she took the name from Star Wars because I'm a Star Wars, Star Trek, I'm all that fan. I thought, oh, that's a fictitious name. She just took that from the show. Go ahead and tell us about the background of your name.
Okay. I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey. My parents and I emigrated when I was little to Canada, and then we came and settled in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia suburbs, and that's where I grew up. And I started first grade not knowing English. My name, my first name, Sev, the full name is Sever, Sever, and it's a combination of my parents' first names, and it means to love. Tok also means full. And when we came to America and as I started going to school, I realized Americans have a really hard time pronouncing Sever. So I started to go by Sev, which also means love. And a while back, one of my best friends was dating a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars. And he said to me, Sev Talk, I like your name. I'm going to name a planet after you. And I thought he was kidding. So the book comes out, and there I am, the Sev Talk planet and star system. I have 2 moons. And recently, my planet was mentioned in an episode of Andor. I know Andor is a very popular show on the Disney Channel. And I remember one night I was just sitting there and my phone just like blew up. And people were like, I just heard your name on Andor. I just heard your name on Andor. Yes. So that was a really wonderful gift of my girlfriend's boyfriend to eternalize me in the Star Wars galactic system.
Yes, yes. I said a lot. Thanks for being here. Hey, Mary. Thanks everybody for joining us today. But go ahead, Seth. Just go ahead and talk about what brings you here. Just talk about your story. But I'm just going to let you go with it. You're so used to telling your story and your book. Also, you have a book about which we haven't mentioned.
Well, you have the right to talk to aliens.
Yeah,
which we wrote about 7 years ago. Because I was in denial about my ET contact up until I wrote this book 7 years ago, like completely hiding it from myself. And when you hide these kind of truths from yourself, it negatively affects every arena of your life, which I did not know at the time. It wasn't until I processed what happened to me that I realized a lot of the hangups and a lot of the unhappiness and the searching that I had my whole entire life. No matter how successful I looked, I never felt happy and fulfilled. And it was because I was lying about this really important part of my life, which is my ET contact. And I'm an experiencer advocate.
There's Emily.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, I love the story of your name and connection to Star Wars.
Thank you. So my first conscious memories of ET contact started age 10. This is when I was living in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. And I would find myself outside in the middle of the night, standing on grass, and I would see a spaceship coming. And this happened so many times I lost count, from the age of 10 to 12. And each time it came from a different direction. And I was so happy to see it because it felt like a family reunion. It felt like I was seeing a relative of mine. And it would come and hover right over my head. And it was so big that it would just block the sky out. And it was nighttime. And it would land, and these stairs would descend, and this being would walk down to meet me. And the being was male, and he had a dark, I don't know if it was one piece or two piece, dark hair, young, 20s, 30s. And he looked very human. The only difference I noticed were his ears. It was just slightly elongated right on the top, but it was nothing like Dr. Spock. And I wasn't even into Star Trek back then at all. And he was just checking up on me. He was making sure I was okay. And this went on for a couple of years. And after each visit, I would find myself back in my bedroom. Ding! That's how I know I have had ET contact, because I'm dropped back into my room. And I describe it as being dropped into 3D reality from some other kind of multidimensional world. And when I'm dropped in, I'm wide awake. There's no grogginess. There's no sleepiness. It's not like I'm coming out of a dream. I'm dropped down and my eyes pop open. I'm fully alert. And I would just tell myself, I'd be really confused, because being with my space brother seemed more real than being in my bedroom. And I was in 5th grade. And I would just tell myself, ignore it, just forget about it. It's time to get dressed for school, go to school, and just try and be normal. And that was my entire life. Just try and be normal. Don't say anything to anybody. And the contact continued for years. The last time I saw this being, it was very different. I was around 12, and this time I was with a group of other kids. And I had never been with other kids before.
Wow.
And we were lined up. And I didn't look into their faces, but we were all about the same height. So I assumed we're about the same age. And we were watching this spaceship fly away. And we were all very, very sad, because we knew we weren't going to see him again. And I heard in my head, okay, you have work to do. Time to get to work. Now, at 12 years old, I had no idea what that meant. Now I'm starting to get an idea of what that means. So I didn't say anything to my parents, although I could have, because my parents were very open-minded, very forward-thinking. They were complete believers in life on other planets and star systems. They taught me how to meditate when I was in the 5th grade. And so when I started to meditate, and when my parents started to teach us that we have a soul, and there's astral planes, and there's reincarnation, and as a family, we completely opened up spiritually.
Wow, that's amazing to grow up like that.
Especially from parents who are old school Turkish. And so they were brought up Muslim, but when they were old enough to make their own decisions, they didn't want to be Muslim. And we really didn't pick any religion as a family. My parents just told us, you can be any religion you want. And they filled the house with books And they said, just read about all the religions and pick one. And if you want to be it, be it. Well, I never picked one. I just stayed on this path of spirituality. But I did end up going to a very religious college, Loyola University in Baltimore, which I felt really out of place there, but it was a good school. And I'd never told my parents anything up until 2018. I told my mom, my dad had already passed. And that's because in 2017, I made contact here on the inner banks of North Carolina after moving here from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. And from the time I was little, from that first experience until moving here 8 years ago, I had lots of ET contact. I was given a lot of information. I saw many different types of beings, but it was always my closely held secret. Didn't share it with anybody. Saw a baby in a tube, part of the hybridization program, many things. And they were all very confusing to me. And I questioned my sanity for most of my life until recently.
Till recently, or the past 7 years?
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened here, I came here with my then partner. We're no longer together. And it was my second or third morning here. I was in the kitchen unpacking dishes. And I felt something bite my butt and it hurt. So I yelled over to him, I think something bit my butt. Will you look at it? He's like, yeah. So I walk over to the living room and I bend over and he's not saying anything. And I'm starting to get nervous. I'm like, well, he goes, yeah, there's a bug bite, but there's also a red X. And that was on the left cheek of my tush.
Wow.
Yeah, it was about that wide. And these little dots, they're all equidistant. This picture has been around the world. People have measured it.
Your butt's been around the world.
Of all the places. And when I ran my finger across it, I couldn't feel it. It was flush with my skin.
Okay. And how long did it take it to heal?
It went away in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So I saw this and I immediately knew it was the grays. And this was back when I was very afraid of the grays. I'm not afraid of them anymore, but I had a viewpoint or a perspective in my life where I was always a victim of everything. So I just assumed that the grays were victimizing me too. It's actually the grays that helped me pop out of the victim vibe that changed my life.
Hey.
I do credit the grays for changing my life big time. And I said to him, he was astonished, and he's a very logical person. And I said to him, okay, we're going to pretend like we never saw this. We're going to pretend like there was never a red X on my tush, and we're just going to move along. He's like, I'm like, yeah, this is what I do my whole entire life. Things like this. I have had all kinds of marks on my body. I've seen all kinds of things, lights, everything, sounds, things touching me. And I just filed it back in the back of my head going, we're not going to visit this right now. So 9 days later, I came to in my room, ding, once again, fully alert.
That's how it happens to me whenever I come back. I wake up and I'm just wide awake in the middle of the night.
Right. That's how you know it's not a dream, because you're not waking up from anything. You're just being dropped from one reality into another reality.
Right.
So 9 days later, I come to in my room and I have this instant download. It's visual. And I was lying on this bed that resembled a hospital type bed, and I was on my side. And I didn't know where I was. It was dimly lit. There was barely any furniture. The walls seemed like they were curved. And I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. And I sensed that there was something behind me and I could move my neck. So I turned my head, and standing right here, just inches from me, was a gray. And I drew a picture of him here in my book.
Oh, yeah.
And we locked eyes and we just stared into each other's eyes. And when you stare into a gray's eyes, I mean, you were changed forever. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And it didn't say anything because I had met the Grays before. I had other experiences. One of them was actually at Roswell with my partner at the time. We shared an experience in Roswell, and I've seen them before too. And all the other times I came in contact with the Grays, there was always telepathic communication.
Mhm.
But this time there was nothing. And that really scared me. So I turned my head back around and ding, I'm in my bedroom. And I'm scared to death because I'm thinking if there's another X on me, I'm not going to be able to take it like that. It'll ruin me. So I go downstairs and I wait for him to wake up. And he always got up before I did, except this time. And yes, I could have looked in the mirror myself, but I didn't want to. And I'm waiting for him. And then there was also something else I knew in that experience that I never knew in any other experience that I've had. And I knew that when I was on that bed in that room, I was on the moon. So he comes downstairs, and right away I start asking him, did anything weird happen last night? No. Was I missing? No. You didn't say anything? No. So he knew something was up. So I told him my memory, and I asked him to check my tush again. And I'm very afraid. You know, when I tell the story, I can still feel it.
That's how I am when I tell my stories. I feel it emotionally when
Yeah,
you
because they're
when you're
intense, and
experiencing.
that never goes away. And I bent over, and he's looking, and he's not saying anything. And I knew. And I said, well, he goes, yeah, there's another X, just like the first one, but this time it's on your right cheek. So I had these two X's, one on my right cheek, one on my left cheek. They looked identical. And we were both stunned. He was speechless. I was afraid. I was angry. I also didn't know anything anymore. I had an existential crisis. And I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what I was doing in the middle of the night talking to aliens. What did they want with me? I didn't know who we were as a human race. I didn't know anything. It felt like I was just suspended in nothingness. And that's a very, very scary place to be. So I just started crying out of fear and confusion. And he asked me, how can I help you? I didn't know how he could help me. I had no answer. So I just pulled myself together and I said, well, for the first time in my life, I'm going to seek help. I've never sought help for my ET stuff before, but I had no idea who I was going to go to. Like, I didn't even know if anybody even talked to anybody who had ET contact. I was so afraid of the Greys. I wasn't afraid of the other beings, but I was really afraid of the Greys so much that I didn't watch TV shows about them. I didn't read books. I mean, I looked at Whitley Strieber's, the cover of his book once and turned it around and flipped it. And I never looked at it again.
I haven't either. And I've been embarrassed to talk about that. I can't read those books.
Oh, you can't still?
No, I think I probably could now.
Yeah.
I wasn't ever able to read them either. And I bought them and just sat there and stared at it just like you did and never
Yeah.
opened it.
Yeah. And this is how I know I've processed, because now I can turn Whitley's book over and the cover's up and I can look at it without wanting to run out of the room. That's how I know I've healed. And I just decided whoever was going to help me, I would find them organically. It would just happen. So shortly after that, a friend of mine suggested I watch the movie Unacknowledged by Dr. Stephen Greer.
Mm.
And I did, and that lit something in me. And so I went to my computer and I asked myself, you know, who am I going to email? I have to email somebody with pictures of these exes. And I heard in my head, MUFON. What is that? I had no idea what that was. So I Googled it, and it was a real thing, Mutual UFO Network. And I went on the website and I saw Kathleen Marden, who was the niece of Betty and Barney Hill, very famous ufologist. You've probably seen her on TV. And I saw her picture and I said, she's going to help me. So I contacted her and she wrote right back. She had never seen an ex like that. And she spent an hour and a half with me. We talked, and it was one of the most important conversations of my life. She validated everything. And I asked her, what am I supposed to do with all the information the Greys have given me? They've given me information about the hybridization program, how to strengthen our psi abilities, scientific innovation, potential fate of humankind. And also, I think the most important information they give us is about our spirituality and self-empowerment. And I said, Kathy, I see myself standing on stage talking. But at that point, there was no way I was coming out. There was no way I was standing on stage because I didn't want my clients to know that I was talking to ETs because I thought I would lose every single client that I had. So coming out was absolutely out of the question. And so to see that visual was weird. And she said, Sev, I can't tell you what to do. You have to figure that out. So once again, I told myself, I don't have to figure it out now. I'll just let that organically happen. And then things just started to snowball. One day I woke up shortly after that and I declared I'm writing a book. And I'm going to call it You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. And when I went to sleep that night, I had no intention of writing a book. None. I don't know what happened that night, but when I woke up, I'm like, I'm writing this book. I sat down to write it. I wrote it pretty quickly. And then a couple of weeks after it debuted, Alien Con, which is affiliated with Ancient Aliens, contacted me to be a speaker in Baltimore at their convention or their conference. And for me to come out in Baltimore was perfect because I lived in Baltimore for decades. I went to Loyola University and I had a lot of ET contact in Baltimore. So that's where I came out. And that's where I learned I want to be an experiencer advocate because a lot of people were coming up to me and saying, I've never told anybody this before. And then they would tell me. It's like music to my ears. And it's an honor to be told those things because these are really private, very personal. And that's when I realized I want to be an experiencer advocate.
And thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. It's very rewarding. There are millions who are having ET contact. Millions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and that's what you're creating on your channel. And this is also what this is about. This channel is creating a safe space for people to be able to share that information or to come listen to it and make it more comfortable for them to come out and share if they ever get to that place. But to know it's okay and there's others like them is a big step.
Oh, validation is very important, especially in the beginning stages of processing your ET contact. And if you don't want to come out to anybody, come out to yourself. Like admit it to yourself, and then you're really going to see how your life starts to change. It's really interesting how living a lie and not living your authentic version really messes up your life in every section of your life. So if you don't want to come out to anybody else, at least come out to yourself, and then you're going to see how these different maybe little hangups or difficulties you've had in the different areas of your life, they seem to unravel. And if you would like to come out to somebody, please contact me. My email is sev@planetsev.com. My website is planetsev.com. And I have this very, very short few questions for you to answer. And then I'll contact you and I'll try and help you process it. So you don't live in fear of it anymore. And that you know you're not the only one. There's many of us.
Right. And so you're MUFON. Are you still affiliated with MUFON?
No, I was the state director for North Carolina, but resigned about a year ago or so, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Now I'm sorry. Now I'm a new director for the International UFO Bureau.
Now, I don't know what that one is because read that. So what is that one? What is that group?
International UFO Bureau was actually created before MUFON. And it kind of disappeared a little bit. You didn't hear much about it, but recently we have a new CEO and a new board, and so they're revamping it, they're bringing it up, and they're renovating it, and they're really creating a very exciting platform for people to submit their contact or their sightings.
Okay. Now, I can remember way back when I started having my experiences, I was trying to contact MUFON, and they had a list or questions to answer, and somebody would contact you. And so I remember it's been a while, but I remember that was pretty lengthy questionnaire, and it was pretty good. Anyway, I remember filling that out, but I don't remember ever having any contact from MUFON. I'm sitting there going,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
no, that's okay. That's okay. And usually when some of those things happen, it's meant to be. I was probably not supposed to be in contact with anybody there because they've tried to isolate me from my exposure for some other people's experiences, and for me to be genuine on my own experiences.
Oh, that could very well be the case. Yes.
So, and I had to accept that. And that had to be a lot to do with the reading books. I would get books and they would be blanked out where I couldn't read them. And then I could read these other books, but I couldn't read these books. So they were doing a lot of things like that in the beginning. Like they didn't want me to have that kind of information. They didn't want me to have other people's information. They wanted me to have my own information, or have it directly coming from them. I think is what it was.
Yes, I can see how that. I can. In the beginning, when you're processing your own ET contact and you're looking for validation and you're reading about other people's experiences or listening to them talk about it, it does provide validation, and also lets you know you're not the only one.
Right.
But at the same time, it could color maybe your perspective or what you think happened. Yes.
I think that's what it was, because mine's very unique and doesn't follow a lot of people's experiences. And I think that's what it was. They didn't want it to interfere with my own experiences.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, here's Hypnosis. She says, my sister thought ETs were planting weeds in her yard. This was the 80s. We thought it was her mental illness at the time. And now I wonder, could it be?
Well, maybe they were walking around in her yard and she saw them.
I think they probably were.
Yeah.
So, do you ever talk about that anymore? Do you ever talk about that experience? Let's see. Here's Patricia. She's saying, Dr. Gail, please confirm different third upgrade, a slight image of 2 Palladian grades right of bed. That's for me. If we could kind of gear the questions towards the subject that we're talking about with Sev. This is Patricia and I. You can bring that question, Patricia, probably Saturday when I'm on with Terry, and then I'll read on that at that time. But right now, I really want to get as much information as we can while we have her here. And anyway.
Well, Trisha, I hope you get the answers you're looking for.
She will. I've been answering her. She's been going through some upgrades, and I read just Wednesday that she was going through one that night. So I feel like she did, and so I'll dive more into it on Saturday. Okay. So Hypnosis saying there was a helicopter when those beings were planting weeds in her yard.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. Let's see. Damaris is saying, both of my parents had a spiritual side. So my question is, which parent had an ET connection? I understand it can be general. My father was Native American. Oh, okay. Damaris, again, that's kind of a question for Saturday. If we can kind of direct your questions towards the show while we have her. Okay, here we go. Here's Jen. Sev, what do you recommend when just beginning your gifts?
Thank you, Jen. Do you mean How do I suggest you strengthen your psychic abilities?
She is extremely gifted. She's just accepting it now.
Are we talking psychic abilities?
Yes, she
Oh,
has.
okay.
She's medium. She's psychic. She's having
Favorite topics.
ET
Yes.
experiences. She's having it all.
Yes. I do help people strengthen their psychic abilities. I offer a 1 hour private session with me where we do meditations together and we channel information together. And we also, I show them symbols and they download the meanings of these symbols. And so I love helping people strengthen their psychic abilities. And all it takes is practice. Well, first you have to know you have psychic abilities. Second, you have to want to strengthen them. And then third, practice, 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 practice forever. The practice never ends because you can always get better. And you practice by meditating. You practice by channeling. I don't know if Jen channels, but to sit down, to go into a meditation, connect, and have paper and pencil and just start writing down, ask questions, write things down. And I do teach people how to channel. Everyone can do it. I have been teaching people how to channel and strengthen their psychic abilities for 15 years. I've been doing the soul sessions for 15 years, and I haven't met a single solitary person who can't channel. Not one. Right?
There you go. Yeah, I agree. I never had anything really official. Mine gifts. Anytime I was going into a class or instructions, all of a sudden I'd have a guide or something show up and say, "This is how you do it." It'd be totally different from how I was being taught, but it did at least open me. It opened me up to that. I did have that ability. Is what did happen when I was going into those classes. If nothing else, I did that. But here's White Dragon. He says, "I was kind of scared about my ET background. Did not want to be some green, three-eyed, bald, and tentacled monster. How long did you struggle with it?"
Oh, hello, White Dragon. Thank you. Decades. I struggled with it from the age of 10 until I was in my 50s. So for 40 years, I struggled with it.
Well,
I never saw a tentacle monster. I haven't met an experiencer who has, but
yeah. Well, White Dragon's had his struggle with the grays too, accepting them that they are not some evil thing out there.
that's right.
That he's struggled with that too.
Thank you, White Dragon.
Okay. All right. So, what is in the future for you?
Well, I just started a new podcast. It just debuted. It's called UFO and ET 101.
Oh,
And
that's
I
great.
present the very, very basics of what I think everybody should know. I think the time is now such that people should not be denying this, or at least pretending like they don't know anything about it. Because if we're having congressional sessions on TV about this, then everybody should know the basics. Everyone should know who Kathy Martin is, Betty and Barney Hill, who the basic whistleblowers are, just the basic, the most famous experiencers. So that's what I'm presenting, just the basics. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, at least you can have a conversation. It's time for conversation. It's not time for us to continue with our heads buried in the sand. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
Where is this podcast?
It's on Spotify and it's on Apple and it's on all the podcast channels. I just put it up the other day, and there's one episode up now, and I'm continuously putting more up. I also have an interview show, Alien Spirit with Sev.
I've seen that show. That's good.
Thank you. That's on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev. I'll be speaking at conferences this year, and I really want to concentrate on this new podcast because I really want to get the information out there in a real simple, easy way to understand without it being too esoteric or too metaphysical. Some people like that, some people don't. Some people just want the basics. So I'm just going to provide the basics of what everybody should know.
That's needed. because I'm guilty of bringing my viewers along to where we are now and not going back and thinking of the people who are just beginning.
Yeah, and if you're just beginning and you go online, there's so much that could be overwhelming. Who do you believe? Who's real? Yeah, there's a lot. And so I just want to help weed through that so you just get the basics of what you need to know.
And here's Wendy. She's saying she saw her first UFO when she was 5. She's seen dead people her whole life. She got frustrated with it and asked that they stop. Her ET abduction was so confusing, but she was never scared.
Hi, Wendy. Thank you. I started off with dead people too. At first, I was doing that, connecting people with their dead relatives, and then that transformed into my soul purpose sessions. And I really don't deal much with dead people, although they still come up in sessions, but I don't intentionally go looking for them anymore. And so that does seem to be like a natural growth. That it seems that maybe ET people are the easiest, not ET, dead people might be the easiest ones to connect with because they're on a
Yeah,
different.
that's exactly what I say. Is they're the easiest one because they're on this level, and then you kind of
Yeah.
move up with it. And
Yes.
I agree. They're the easiest to contact. And I started off that same way. And then also they'll pop in sometimes when I'm doing other kind of readings. They'll pop in.
Right.
I'll have one that's real pushy about wanting to contact somebody in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. So Wendy, just keep on strengthening your abilities. Please continue. I'm glad that you were never scared with your ET abduction, but there's the ET abductions. There's so much there that is positive. That I really encourage everyone to really do their best to investigate what they were told and what happened to them. And then the more you revisit what happened, the more you'll remember.
Right. And I agree that is whenever I have an experience and I write it down, days later, that experience, I keep remembering more about that same experience. And even weeks, months, even years, you get more pieces of it that's adding to that experience.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let's see. What are you saying here, Patricia? Are you talking right now? I think they have evolved and realized now that they did harm to those that were abducted. Feel they are trying to make up for that. I can so understand how you feel. Yes, I agree, Patricia, because that is one of the things that I was told was that when they were abducting people, they didn't realize what they were doing or the emotional side of it because they were didn't quite have the same emotions as humans. And when they realized that, they consider that their dark past, as in our dark past, is slavery. And they consider when they were abducting people and not considering their emotional well-being as, it was traumatic. Yeah, again, it was traumatic for a lot of people. Now that doesn't seem to happen. They're more conscious of when somebody's coming in to be healed or bring them up to the spaceship.
Yes, but the other thing that's also happening more and more is ET contact doesn't happen just in physical 3D, but it happens in the consciousness.
Right.
So this is why millions of people are having ET contact through their consciousness, but to them, they think it's a dream.
Right.
Or maybe it's a fantasy, or they imagine that, but it's real. And so most ET contact is happening in this metaphysical, interdimensional way.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to share, Sev? Take a deep breath and think about it. That was a big, deep breath.
Yeah, well, I think I shared everything I'd like to share.
Okay.
My biggest message is that if you are an experiencer, it's time to face it. And you don't have to be afraid, like I was most of my life. It's easy to get help now. It's very, very easy. So please reach for help if you need it. And it's really important to make sure that as a human, you're living as authentically as you possibly can. And that we are quantum beings and we're living in this quantum field where we're all interconnected. And it's really on us as individuals to try and find peace and fulfillment and to live as authentically as possible. And if ETs are along your path, it's very important that you confront that and that you heal that.
Yeah. Anyway, Wendy has a statement here, and then Jen has a question. I seem to be going on lots of missions. It seems to be rescuing mostly children or either babysitting or caring for them. So strange. Well, Wendy, that's all so true. There's a whole lot of things that we're all doing, but just think that that's true. But Jen Carr says, can dark beings actually get to you in dreams?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. There's lower vibratory beings everywhere.
Right.
Thank
So, yeah. So anyway, all right, everybody. Thanks for being here. And Sev, appreciate you being here also. Thanks, moderators, for making this a safe place. My next show will be on Saturday, and I'll be on with Terry. When is your next show, Sev?
It's the first and third Mondays of every month.
Okay. Okay. On YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
On KGRA.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.